Good evening and welcome all of you. So here I am again with a new lecture on a current affairs issue. So today I will be discussing with you the issue of Taiwan. So as you know, recently on 10th of October, Taiwan celebrated its National Day. And this celebration, it evoked a lot of responses from number of countries. And this year's celebration was different because it evoked a lot of response from India. And the reason behind this was that on 7th of October, the embassy of China, which is based in Delhi, it issued certain instruction to the journalist that they should cover the Taiwan National Day celebration in a certain way that does not violate the One China policy. So this One China policy, you might have heard many times. And China uses this word again and again. So what is this One China policy? So this is a kind of a diplomatic acknowledgement of Chinese position that there is only one Chinese government. So when I say that there is only one Chinese government, and even China says that there should be a diplomatic recognition all over the world that there exists only one Chinese government. So what does that mean? Is there some other Chinese government also? So the answer is yes. The Taiwan, it also claims itself as the Republic of China. So the mainland China, in order to downgrade the status of Taiwan, it places itself above this country or the island territory. So that is why it says that your diplomatic relations should continue with mainland China and should not continue with the Taiwan, which is an island territory and which is a part of China. So you should not maintain diplomatic relations, separate diplomatic relations with Taiwan. And as a result, most of the nations of the world, they do not have their embassies in Taiwan. Although in reality, at present, it is a separate country. It has its own constitution, a democratically elected government. It has an army of over 3 lakh people. So why even after all that China is not ready to accept Taiwan as a separate nation? So I will explain you all these things in detail. So let's begin with the present issue. So I explained that there were National Day celebrations, and why this National Day is celebrated in Taiwan is that on a certain date, that is on 10th October in 1911, there was an uprising called Wuchang Uprising, and this Wuchang Uprising, it brought an end to the Qing dynasty's rule in China and established a Republic of China. So this republic, it began working from 1st January 1912. So the monarchic rule under the Qing dynasty, it came to an end and a Republic of China was established. Since then, they have been following this policy, and this policy has evolved over the years, where especially the Chinese government has been very strong vocal of One China policy, and it says that all countries should respect the sovereignty and integrity of China by not establishing any diplomatic relations separately with Taiwan. So in order to understand the present situation of Taiwan, we need to understand the history, how Taiwan came into existence, and at what point of time was Taiwan independent, and at what point of time it was under Chinese rule. So beginning from AD 239, first record, so China says that in AD 239 it sent an expeditionary force. For what? To explore Taiwan. And China uses this event as a kind of evidence to claim this territory, that we sent a force in AD 239 to explore this territory, and therefore this territory belongs to us. And now coming on to the modern times, since there are not much record in history about this region, so coming on to the modern times in 1624, so from 1624 to 1661, it was under Dutch it was a Dutch colony, or it was under Dutch colonial power. So Dutch colony. So as you know, like India, China has also been a place for a struggle between these colonial powers. In the end, the English won. And from 1680 to 1895, so from 1624 to 1661, for around this 40 years, it was a Dutch colony. But from 1680 to 1895, it came under this Qing dynasty. So this was a very strong empire. So as you know that there would be an uprising in 1911, and in that uprising Qing dynasty would be uprooted from there. But from 1895 to 1945, this region was not under Chinese occupation. Why? Because in 1895 there was Sino-Japanese War. So Japan attacked China and defeated it and captured the territory of Taiwan, and it continued to rule it till 1945. That is till the end of the Second World War. Why after Second World War Japan surrendered this territory of Taiwan? Because in Second World War Japan lost and it had to surrender this territory to the victors, and China was on the side of the victory or victor countries. That means it was on the side of the US, UK, and with their consent from 1945 China started ruling in this region. Okay, so from 1945 China started ruling in Taiwan, but with the consent of its other allies or the victor allies in the Second World War, that is US and UK. So I think every point is clear from the Qing dynasty to the Second World War end. So now after 1945 it came under direct Chinese rule. And mainland China, certain events were taking place, that is from 1912. So as I explained earlier that the Republic of China was established in 1912 after this Wuchang uprising, and there was a rise of a very strong nationalist party, that is Nationalist People's Party. And one of the strongest leader of this Nationalist People's Party was Chiang Kai-shek. And as in 1917, that is after 12 years of establishment of Republic of China, there was this Russian Revolution. Russian Revolution, it was inspired by socialist ideas, or it was a socialist revolution. As a result, there was an influence of socialism in China also. So there started a long struggle or long fight between this nationalist party and the communists. These communists, they continued to receive support from Soviets. Okay. So there was a continuous conflict between these two parties, that is the Communist Party and the Nationalist People's Party under Chiang Kai-shek. And this struggle, it ended in 1949 with the Cultural Revolution, which established the present state of China. And what happened in 1949, that these nationalists, they were defeated. Nationalists under Chiang Kai-shek, they were defeated, and then they moved to Taiwan, proceeded to Taiwan, and established a government there. And this government, they said, was representative of the entire Chinese nation. So now there was a government ruling in the mainland China, and also a government which was ruling on the Taiwan, or which is the island territory, and they also claimed that they represent the Republic of China. So now there were two sides, mainland China and Taiwan. Mainland China was under Communist Party of China. Okay. So this Communist Party, it established its stronghold in mainland region. And this Nationalist Party, it established its stronghold in Taiwan. And both claim that they were the true representatives of the entire Chinese nation. So Taiwan, it was under continuous rule of this nationalist party starting from 1949 till 2000. And it was in 2000 that for the first time a pro-democratic, pro-independence party, that is the Democratic People's Party, Democratic Progressive Party, it came into existence in 1980s, and it won for the first time in 2000. So DPP, or the Democratic Progressive Party, which was established in 1980s, it won the presidential election in Taiwan for the first time in 2000. And then again and again it kept on winning these elections. In 2016 and 2020 again, they won a comfortable majority. And who is the present president? The present president of this Democratic Progressive Party or Taiwan is the Tsai Ing-wen. So she is also the chairperson of this party, okay, Democratic Progressive Party. And she continues to head the democratic movement in Taiwan. But over the years, China is more supportive of this KMT. Also, the National People's Party was also known as the KMT or Kuomintang. So over the time, China has been more supportive of KMT or National People's Party, because this National People's Party, it has its agenda, which it made it clear over the time from 1949 that they would not be claiming independence, no independence for Taiwan. So I am explaining the stance of the KMT or NPP on Taiwan. So this KMT or National People's Party, it says that we do not want any independence from China. Also they say that no unification. That although we do not want independence, but we are also not going to unify with the mainland China. Third is no use of force. That we are not going to use force against the mainland China. Also, they believe in conciliation towards mainland China. That they want to continue cooperation with China's mainland region. So they are supporters, or over the years they have grown very close to the Communist Party of China, and now they support a close relationship with the mainland China and with the Communist Party. Now, what is the stance of this Democratic Progressive Party? So this Democratic Progressive Party is viewed with suspicion by China. Why? Because it demands independence, that we want an independent state of Taiwan. So when you are going to demand independence, then they are definitely going to be against you. So that is why China's Communist Party is against this Democratic Progressive Party of Taiwan. Also, it says that there could be no conciliation. So there is no chance of conciliation, no unification. We do not want to unify Taiwan with the mainland China. So this is the reason why the Communist Party of China is very apprehensive and concerned about the Democratic Progressive Party. Also, this Democratic Progressive Party has been able to establish its stronghold in Taiwan over these years. That is, from 2002 to 2020, it has been able to win the presidential elections for 2 or 3 times. So China has concerns that DPP or Democratic Progressive Party, it can bring referendum, and through this it can change the governance structure. So China is apprehensive that the Democratic Progressive Party, it can bring referendum because it has so much support in present Taiwan, and through this it can change the governance structure. Okay, China is also concerned that they are so much popular today, these Democratic Progressive Parties, that they can co-opt and subsume this NPP or KMT with them. So China is concerned that they can diplomatically co-opt this National People's Party or the KMT into their fold, and as a result, what would happen? Independence demand would get strengthened, because the only party which is opposing is this KMT or the National People's Party. So there would be pro-independence movements all over Taiwan. Also, one thing that is concerning about the Chinese action in this region is that if China gets control or is able to unify Taiwan, then the threat of China getting more provocative. In South China Sea and Indo-Pacific region increases. Because then if it subsumes, or if China is able to unify Taiwan with itself, then it would become a supreme power in the region, in its neighboring region, that is the South China Sea and the Indo-Pacific. And this would affect the freedom of the navigation, the freedom of the communication and the overflight, as China is already doing in this area. So this is one of the reasons. So there are geostrategic as well as security implications of unification of Taiwan with China. So USA although it does not have any kind of diplomatic relations with Taiwan, but it continues to provide arms to Taiwan in order to defend itself. US provides arms to Taiwan for defensive purpose. For defensive purpose. It also passed an act in late 1970s, Taiwan Relation Act, where it said that it would maintain close relations with Taiwan. And if China attacks, and if China tries to attack Taiwan, then it would be a matter of grave concern and US might intervene into it. So this happened when in 1979 the US Congress passed this Taiwan Relation Act. And what made the US Congress to pass such an act? Because in 1979 the then President of USA, Jimmy Carter, he ended diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Ended diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Relations with Taiwan and shifted the embassy from Taiwan to the mainland Beijing. Also, one interesting fact that I want to share with you is that till 1971, Taiwan, which calls itself the Republic of China, was recognized as the true representative of China, and it was represented in the UNSC. But later in 1971, United Nations, it took the decision and it sidelined Taiwan and included mainland China as the true representative of the Chinese nation, and therefore China got this seat in UNSC, or permanent seat in United Nations Security Council. So China is very apprehensive whenever any country it talks about independence or it supports the pro-democratic movement in Taiwan, or as we have seen recently that it has imposed a new national security law in Hong Kong in order to curb these democratic protests. So the main reason behind all these actions of China are to maintain strong control over the Taiwan and over the time include this territory back into China. So for China, it is kind of a breakaway province. So Taiwan is a breakaway province according to China. And at one point of time in future, it would be reintegrated into the mainland nation. Okay. So that is why it is very apprehensive and it keeps on issuing warnings to other nations that they should not support these kind of activities, hostile activities in its territory, and they should strongly follow the One China policy, that there is only one Chinese government. So that was the reason of the entire event which unfolded from 7th October to the 10th October, where the Chinese embassy issuing instruction to the journalists that they should cover the event of the Taiwan Day or Taiwan National Day in a proper way so as to not violate the One China policy. But MEA or the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson, he rebuted this statement by Chinese embassy and said that Indian media is free to cover any issue that it deems fit, because in India we have a freedom of press and freedom of the speech and expression, which is not available in mainland China or in Taiwan. It is available but in some limited form. Okay, so that was the issue of Taiwan. Okay, so if you like this video, I would request you to kindly share and comment on it, and share this session with your known people as much as possible. And if you want to make, if you want me to make certain improvements, you can suggest me those changes so that I could incorporate them in the future lectures. So that would be all. I would be meeting in a new lecture with you tomorrow. Till then, take care. Thank you.